Hello, this is Pam. Today I'm going to be talking about multiple sclerosis, parasites, and sugar, the untold truth. When we think about sugar, a lot of us think about weight gain, maybe tooth decay, more things that we really don't like, but we don't realize that if we're suffering from multiple sclerosis or other chronic diseases, that sugar can actually increase or accelerate our disability. And that is really huge. It can make our symptoms a lot worse. We're going to be talking about the science. I'm going to simplify that for you to really help you to understand why sugar is such a villain, not just with weight gain, but also with really driving inflammation and how it does that. If we haven't met, my name is Pam Bartha. I'm the author of Become a Wellness Champion and the founder of Live Disease Free. I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis over 35 years ago. By the grace of God, I learned early on that what I was dealing with when I was diagnosed was not a mysterious disease where my immune system was attacking my nerve tissue for no reason, but I was dealing with dysbiosis, which means that your microbes in your body are out of balance. Too many disease-causing parasites and not enough health-promoting microbes. And when you're out of balance, then your immune system starts to lose the battle. So that was me 35 years ago. I have been able to live MS-free. From what I've learned, we've coached thousands of people all over the world. Many people have recovered, and they've gone on to writing books and starting podcasts and starting wellness clinics and raising families and doing all kinds of fun things. And so today we're talking about something so simple that you can change in your life right now that is going to allow you to have significant symptom improvements, more symptom improvements than any medication could ever give you. So with respect to sugar, we all know that sugar is not good for us. We know that sugar is addictive. It can cause cavities. It can cause us to gain weight if we eat too much sugar and too many processed carbohydrates. But many of us don't really understand that it also drives inflammation. It also disrupts the type of microbes that live in our body. It can make us feel a lot more tired. It can really accelerate disability in many different types of diseases. It can really impact our mood, making us feel depressed. And so there's one piece of the puzzle that has never been talked about that I'm aware of, and that's like how sugar is actually the favorite source of energy for parasites. So I've given you lots and lots of information about all the different types of parasites that we know that are connected with multiple sclerosis. And we know that whether they're worms or protozoa or bacteria or fungi, they all love sugar. Their favorite source of energy is simple sugars and carbohydrates. And carbohydrates will break down to simple sugars. So that is a big reason why the inflammation becomes stronger when we eat a lot of sugar. Because number one, sugar is addictive. The parasites make us crave sugar also because it's their favorite food. They need us to eat sugar to feed them. And that, again, is their favorite source of energy. So they reproduce more quickly. They also produce more toxins. The immune system is working harder. So we have more inflammation. So sugar, what the research shows is that studies consistently show that sugar worsens multiple sclerosis symptoms, and it may speed up the progression of the disease. Why are doctors not telling us about this? This is something so simple that they can tell us, and that can have a huge impact on how we're feeling. It blows my mind why our specialists, the neurologists that are taking care of us when we have multiple sclerosis, why they don't just simply share that with us. I'll share some just recent successes of people that have found us, changed their diet a little. They're having life-changing symptom improvements just with decreasing or omitting sugar out of their diet. It's such a simple thing to do. And yet a lot of experts, medical experts, they'll say, oh, diet really doesn't do anything. So Sugar worsens MS symptoms. It's been shown in science, and it may speed up the progression of the disease. So with high sugar diets, they're associated with an increase in certain molecules or chemicals that our immune system produces. They're called cytokines, and that really drives neuroinflammation in the brain and in the spinal cord. So they just know that there's, more immune activity when we're eating a really high sugar diet. And so they can measure that there's more inflammatory cytokines. Metabolic dysfunction, people with MS and many other diseases, not just multiple sclerosis, they often have insulin resistance and impaired glucose metabolism. And so fluctuations in blood sugar often cause fatigue and disability risk. A study presented at the American Academy of Neurologists found that MS patients who consumed about 290 calories of sugar-sweetened beverages per day had a 5 times higher risk of severe disability. 5 times higher risk of severe disability compared to those who rarely consumed these sugary drinks. So why is it not that our doctors, we're supposed to have a healthcare system, so why are our doctors not giving us some basic information about, hey, there's research that shows that avoiding sugar could possibly help you with multiple sclerosis. We can't prove it yet, but no harm in trying. Why wouldn't they tell us that? Absolutely amazing. Also, mood and fatigue. High sugar intake is directly linked with greater fatigue and worsened depression, 2 of the most disabling symptoms of multiple sclerosis, but other chronic diseases also. And there's this gut connection, right? Sugar doesn't just harm our nervous system and different parts of our body, but it also changes the types of microbes that live in our body. And that can be a really key role in multiple sclerosis progression. I've talked many articles, whenever a study comes out where they're finding, MS patients have different types of bacteria in their gut compared to healthy people. Well, sugar can actually drive this difference also. High sugar diet increases harmful bacteria in our gut and reduces protective species, the good health promoting microbes. It also, that whole disruption then also promotes leaky gut, and that will trigger immune responses, which are linked to MS lesion activity also. A low sugar, low carb diet, high in fiber and fermented foods and healthy fats supports a healthier microbiome. And this has been shown in science to reduce inflammation. MS and all chronic diseases are inflammatory conditions. So all of this low sugar, low carb, lots of fiber for the health promoting microbes, fermented foods, which brings good microbes in, and healthy fats, all of this, it reduces inflammation and it stabilizes the immune system. So again, inflammation is the war. So the war is going down, and our immune system is obviously not working as hard when there is not such a war going on. So parasites in MS, I've shared a lot of research about this. Dr. Alan MacDonald found small roundworms, filarial worms, in the central nervous system of every MS subject he tested. He also found tapeworm larvae, also developing tapeworms, and he also found Borrelia in the central nervous system of MS patients. He should get an award for that. That is huge. So he examined people that had MS, a confirmed diagnosis. They died with multiple sclerosis. They died with multiple sclerosis. And so he was able to look very simply in their central nervous system, especially in the spinal fluid, and was able to find these parasites quite abundantly, very easily. Also, there's been other studies. I've shared that there's been at least 100 years of research linking MS to parasites like Borrelia that cause Lyme disease, or even a malaria, Babesia type parasite, which is a protozoa. That is also another 75 studies over stemming back to the 1800s, the late 1800s. So there's lots of research showing that various parasites are involved with multiple sclerosis. And you might think like, well, how can there be so many different types of parasites? Like why wouldn't there be just one parasite that causes MS? Well, think about your garden. Do you just have one type of weed that grows in your garden? No. If you don't take care of it, you end up with multiple different types of weeds in your garden. They're pests, and that's the same thing inside of our gut. We're exposed to different types of disease-causing bacteria, protozoa, fungi, and worms. And so it's more that we're really out of balance, like we have a really weedy intestinal tract, and also throughout our body too, right? These different microbes, they don't just stay in our gut, they move into different parts of the body, organs, and also the central nervous system. So these infections, they're driving inflammation, meaning they're driving the war that the immune system is trying to deal with them. And this war can damage nerves, and it can also appear that it is like autoimmune activity because some of our tissue might get damaged, but it's not a direct assault from our immune system on our own tissue. It's just damages of war, right? It's like sometimes there's countries that are bombing areas and they're destroying, families, children that they shouldn't be destroying. And it's not that they're targeting that specifically. It's just the consequences of war, which is awful. Sugar feeds parasites. It is the favorite food of parasites. It is their favorite source of energy. And when you give, it's like putting gas on a fire. When you eat a bunch of sugar, next time you want to binge on cookies or soft drinks or pastries, just know that as you're binging on that sugar, the parasites are binging with you. They are hyperactive. They are producing many, many more toxins. They are reproducing like crazy, and they are causing a lot of work for your immune system. That's why the inflammation starts to go up and up. With the toxins they produce, the immune system has to deal with not just the parasites, but also the toxins they produce. And then our body has to try to repair the damage from this war and direct assault from these parasites on our tissue. So by lowering sugar, we don't starve the parasites to death, but we are making them more quiet. We are starving them in a way like we're just not giving them the binge parties. They still can live on our normal blood sugar levels, but if you decrease your carbs significantly, you could still have normal blood sugar, but maybe in the low normal range. And then you will find that when you do that you start feeling so much better, and you are making the parasites more quiet. They're producing less toxins. Symptoms really start to improve. So this evidence challenges this mainstream view that MS is an autoimmune disease or an immune disorder. Instead, it's really pointing to chronic infections, and that's what the research is showing. That's what, the evidence of the carbohydrates and the sugars is showing. So fueled greater by sugar. So the parasites are fueled by sugar, and that's what the root cause of multiple sclerosis is. Why is sugar so addictive? Well, there's many different parts to this. Number one, the brain rewards. If you are having a lot of sugar, this will trigger a surge in dopamine in your brain. This is a kind of like a feel-good chemical. So if you're eating sugar, you get this release of this, I feel good chemical. Short term, but you get that. And over time, your brain really craves more sugar to get that same happy feeling, that good feeling. And that can definitely be part of the becoming dependent on sugar. So that's one aspect. But then also it can cause incredible cravings and withdrawal. So when you cut back on sugar, you can get these withdrawal-like symptoms. And what we always recommend is when you're starting to live disease-free diet, yes, go off of sugar, but one way you can minimize the adverse effects of coming off of sugar is to make sure you're eating often, eat regularly, eat like 3 meals a day and 2 snacks, lots of healthy fat, moderate amounts of protein, and lots of low-carb healthy vegetables. And that way you're going to keep your blood sugar more steady, and you're not going to have the withdrawals that you would if you have been eating a lot of sugar. And the blood sugar roller coaster, so sugar spikes our blood sugar. So sugar that we eat will spike our glucose, which is the sugar in our blood. That can give us some quick energy, but it's usually followed by a crash. So we might eat sugar and feel like, oh my gosh, I feel like hyperactive, lots of energy. And then all of a sudden, shortly after that, we feel like we're just crashing. And so that crash is going to drive hunger and more cravings to eat more sugar on top of that. So this is kind of like a self-reinforcing loop. So beyond obvious sweets, sugars are hidden in so many different foods. Bacon, ham, sausage, like things that you wouldn't even think about. Sometimes I believe that if it's a small enough amount, they don't have to even list it on the label. So even things like nut butters. So be really careful because it is in so many different healthy foods like yogurts and granola. And it's everywhere. And so when students start the Live Disease-Free diet, they really simplify their diet at the start so that they can really avoid all of these hidden sugars. Juice is another one, right? And so be very, very careful with this. So why does this matter in multiple sclerosis? Because people with MS already have impaired glucose metabolism. The addictive cycle of the sugar hits them even harder. And the biggest factor is that when we have a parasitic infestation, the parasites make us crave sugar like a drug addiction. So parasites have a way to get their host to do things that benefit them. And that for us is they want us to eat sugar because that feeds them. And there are like National Geographic documentaries about how parasites can actually change the behavior of the host. It's pretty crazy. So if you decrease the sugar or avoid all sugar in your diet, and be aware that there's sugar in fruit, right? There's sugar in certain vegetables we're eating. Like we think of tomatoes as being a vegetable, but it's really a fruit. So there's sugar in carrots. There's sugar in many different vegetables and fruits. But if you're getting rid of the processed sugar and you're decreasing the natural sugars and carbohydrates a lot significantly when you're infested with parasites, you'll notice that you'll have a lot more energy. Your mood will improve. The biggest thing we notice at first is people notice that their bladder function has improved tremendously. Then also they're not getting up as many times at night. They're starting to sleep better at night. They're having better energy during the day. They're feeling stronger. It's pretty wild. They can notice their spasticity is improving or going away. So many improvements can happen when you decrease the food enough to the parasites. They're more quiet, inflammation goes down, and all of these symptoms start to improve. And so there's actually clinical trials that showed about a 50% improvement in fatigue and depression. So before I was sharing what our students notice, but this is actually in clinical trials. Almost a 50% reduction in fatigue and depression after 6 months of following a low carb, low sugar diet. Incredible. And then also remember the EDSS, the disability score, that survey, expanded disability status scale, where they get us to fill a survey out when we have MS to kind of monitor our progress. And that improved in a study, it improved from 2.3 down to 1.9. So as the lower the score, the better. And it went from 2.3 to 1.9. And I don't have the details of how long that study was done. And this is not a perfect diet. They're just saying getting rid of the sugar improved the disability status scale, also reduced fatigue and depression. It supported nerve health. So this neurofilament light chain, it's a marker of nerve damage, stayed stable and low. Also boosted quality of life for MS patients, both physically and mentally. Their scores improved significantly. improved function. So this is their walking, their mobility improved, their hand coordination and their balance all improved by getting sugar out of their diet. How simple is that? Why is our doctors not telling us about this? Why don't they know? I'm sure that if they knew and they were told that they were supposed to tell us about this, they would. But why are they discouraged to talk about simple changes in diet by just getting rid of sugar? It can make such a difference in someone's life. A lady joined about a week ago, and I shared this, I think, on the last call. Basically, she was so cognitively impaired. She's like, Pam, I don't know if I'm going to be able to have a conversation with you. I have a really hard time processing my thoughts. So we did. I said, don't worry about it. I work with a lot of people that have a lot of cognitive issues, but just know that our students that have been in brain studies because their brain function was so bad, that the brain can heal. So she was kind of excited about that. But she told me that she had been following the diet for a few weeks, and she noticed in herself that she wasn't getting up multiple times throughout the night. But the bladder urgency settled right down. She also felt stronger. She was also not using her cane anymore. She was working out. And she said she had this horrible weight on her back. It was like 100 pounds of weight and pain. That was gone. It had lifted. And she was addicted to sugar, and she gave up sugar. And so she wasn't even following the Live Disease-Free diet the way that we have people follow it, because we have the guidelines on our website, but she wasn't 100% there. But like, that is huge just with diet. Like, there is no MS drug that gives you that much benefit. Like, it's crazy. And then I spoke with a lady today who's going to become a wellness champion. She's going to just be joining right away here. And she shared just 1 week on the diet, not perfectly, but she's noticed that no more numbness and tingling in her hand and in her arm. Like, it's been decreasing and decreasing. And she said today when I talked to her, she said she didn't have any tingling or numbness in her arm or her hand. Just by getting rid of sugar, decreasing the carbs a bit, not even perfectly, incredible, like absolutely incredible, because she was starting to have a hard time using her hand and her arm. So these are the possibilities. So for you, if you haven't gotten rid of sugar in your diet, please do so. It's so worth it. There is nothing that, how does Marissa that works with us? She says there's nothing that tastes as good as having your health back. I probably butchered it, but she says something like that. But there's nothing you can put on your tongue that gives you this gratification for a few fleeting seconds that will make you as happy as getting your health and your life back. So at the start, it is a little bit hard because we do have really strong cravings for multiple reasons. I shared it has to do with dopamine, it has to do with the parasites making us crave, all kinds of things. So, but if you have a very strong intention, or why do you have to succeed? Is it for your family? Is it for your grandchildren? Is it, God has put something on your heart that he really wants you to do? What is it? You just want to, like, your family needs you. Your family needs you as a mother, as a father, as a grandparent, as a grandmother, grandfather, right? You have this huge gift to give to others, but you have to start to take back your health and your life. You're the only one who can do it. So you can start with the Live Disease-Free Diet Guidelines, which you can find on our website for free under Research. In the main menu under Research, go to Live Disease-Free Diet Guidelines. There's a cheat sheet you can put in your kitchen, and it gives you really good guidelines of what to eat and what to avoid. There are some videos that give you ideas on what I eat for breakfast, lunch, and supper, and lots of holiday meal ideas will be coming into for Canadians, will be coming into Thanksgiving in the next month or so. I would say, I don't know what date it is, but maybe in about a month or so. So there's lots of options. You can feel satisfied and you can maintain your weight. But you'll notice that if you get your carbs down to the 30 to 40 total grams of carbs per day, of course, we're omitting all sugar there, that it can be life-changing for you. It can make you start to have hope, to believe that there is a better way. There is actually a way for you to recover, to take your health and your life back. I'm going to go to your questions. Hello, Tall Cedars. Angela. Sugar makes everything worse, but it is so addictive and makes lots of money. Yes, absolutely. Well, if you think about it, like the whole sugar industry is feeding the medical industry, right? It's just so crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. Like you can notice, like the one lady I was talking to today, her husband said, yeah, like if you eat a lot of sugar, you notice your symptoms like shortly after you eat the sugar, they're worse, the MS symptoms. It's that quick. So pay attention to that, follow the diet and start weaning yourself off sugar and it will make a big difference. Hi, Linda. Your daughter has is massively infected with parasites but doesn't have MS. She's stuck with the diet for many months and this has brought inflammation down noticeably. Yay, thank you for sharing that. However, she still frequently is constipated, so she hasn't started the anti-parasites yet. So yes, you really want to treat the parasites because it's going to help her to feel a little better because the parasites are a little less active, but they're not going to leave her body until she treats them. Mast cell activation syndrome is still flaring. That means because she still has the parasites. There's still a war going on. It's just not as brutal of a war. So she definitely needs to treat them. So if she has a doctor that can help her with making sure she's energy tested, making sure she's figuring out which types of worms, protozoa, bacteria, and fungi she's dealing with, and doing multiple cycles until she's well, that's great. If she needs help, make sure to watch the masterclass training I have, because that's what we do is we help people that can't find practitioners. And everyone I talk to, it's really hard to find a practitioner that knows how to treat parasites. It's kind of ridiculous, but that's the way it is right now. Hopefully things are going to change. You're very welcome. Thank you so much, RK9 family. So you're following the diet and the program the best you can. You're so that's Sheila. Awesome. Okay. Just wanted to finish off with just sharing that these high sugar diets, they fuel inflammation, they disrupt our gut microbiome, they accelerate disability and also symptoms. They make them stronger for multiple sclerosis. Many of the symptoms are stronger. So tingling, numbness, depression, anxiety, like you name it, fatigue, it goes on and on. Because the parasites are more active, they're producing more poisons, the immune system is working harder, we have more inflammation. Sugar is driving inflammation when we have a lot of parasites. And increasingly, MS is being understood that it is an infectious disease. I'm starting to hear different truth teller neurologists, healthcare professionals that are starting to talk about Dr. Alan McDonald's work and others' work, really helping to bring this truth out that MS is an infectious disease. It is caused by a parasitic infestation. So the good news is it's really simple. Just take sugar out of your diet. Be careful with fruit too, because fruit has a lot of natural sugar. The parasites don't care if the sugar comes from fruit or if it comes from a cookie. They just love sugar. So just keep the sugar down, and that is going to help you to see that this actually works, that you are finally on the right track. But then if you want to fully recover, if you want your health and your life back, like these other wellness champions, then you've got to treat the parasites. Just like we treat them in our dogs, our cats, and other pets that we have to treat the parasites inside of us so that we can actually live a long, healthy, and happy life. So at Live Disease Free, we have seen countless students recovering from these parasitic infestations. When you have recovered for a long period of time, could you have a special treat once in a while? Yes. I personally don't, just because it's so brutal when you've had MS, and when you recover and you get that second chance, I just I don't even like sugar anymore because I haven't had it for so many years. Do I like a nice piece of fruit, like a juicy vine-ripened peach? Yeah, absolutely. But I personally have chosen not to eat processed carbs because I don't even enjoy the flavor anymore. It's kind of like if a person quits alcohol or smoking, it's just like it doesn't taste good anymore. It doesn't do the job anymore. And same with sugar. And what I call that is freedom. When you are not addicted to sugar, when you're not run by the highs and lows of sugar and caffeine, all of that, you're not craving alcohol, it is called freedom. You have sustained energy throughout the day. As long as you get enough sleep, that would be about the only thing. And that way you don't have the ups and downs. You don't have the weight gain. You just have stable diet. And then you get natural energy because your microbiome is in balance, you have optimal nutrition, and you work at it for the rest of your life. That's how I've been able to live MS-free for 35 years now, is that I didn't just treat parasites before, but I have not done a perfect job, but done a really good job, good enough to stay MS-free and stay disease-free for 35 years. I raised my children. I now have 8 grandchildren. I'm getting back into horses. I'm doing all kinds of fun. We've got chickens and horses. We had sheep. It was just a little too much. So now we're just down to horses and to chickens and dogs and 8 grandchildren. So I'm just loving life, just thoroughly enjoying my grandkids. And I'm so grateful to God for giving us this wisdom. And if you're at that place where you're really needing support, you can't find a practitioner that will help you, make sure to reach out. Watch my masterclass training. I share all the steps of what we do to recover. I tell you exactly all the steps. And if you need support, make sure to reach out. You can fill out the form. See if it's a good fit for you, right? You and I can chat. We'll go over your health history to see what you've been up to, what you've done, what you were diagnosed with, and then you can ask all the questions you want. So with that, I hope you have a wonderful week, and we will talk to you next week. Take care and bye-bye for now. Just make sure to please share this with others because that is how we get the word out. This is how we help bring change. You could just literally share this one video. Somebody could watch it. They can cut sugar out of their diet, and they could literally start possibly walking like one of our students without her cane. It can be that significant. So have a wonderful week, and we will talk to you next week. Take care and bye-bye for now.